After my father died, I asked my wife for a hug. Her brother laughed and said, "Grow up. You're embarrassing." She said nothing. I slept alone that night. 1 month later, they got a letter from my attorney. The first page made my wife cry. The last page made her brother vomit. My name's Alan. I'm 42, and I've lived in Columbus, Ohio my whole life. My dad was a plumber, taught me the trade, taught me how to work. I've been running my own small contracting business for the past 10 years. Mostly residential jobs. Honest work. My dad died of lung cancer last April. It happened fast. One day, he was helping me put up drywall in a client's house. For months later, I was holding his hand in the hospital while he struggled to breathe. I was there when his heart stopped. Just me. I didn't cry right away. I didn't scream. I just sat there, numb, holding his cold fingers. When I left the hospital, I didn't go to a bar. I didn't call anyone. I went home. I walked in through the front door. My wife Stephanie was on the couch. Her brother Kyle was there too, feet up on my coffee table, watching TV with a half-eaten pizza in front of him. He'd been living with us since the previous summer after getting fired for calling his supervisor a bald-headed dweeb in front of customers. He never paid rent, never cleaned, spent all day gaming and drinking whatever cheap beer he could find. But Stephanie told me he's family, so I put up with it. That night, I didn't want anything except one thing, a hug. Just something human, something to remind me I wasn't alone. I still had people. I walked into the living room and said, "Steph, can you just give me a hug?" Kyle laughed, not like a chuckle, not nervous. He laughed hard. Then he said, "Grow up, man. You're embarrassing." I looked at my wife. She stared at me, then looked away, didn't say a word, didn't tell him to shut up, didn't come to me. She just turned back to her phone. That silence hurt worse than the cancer did to my dad. That silence made everything real. I went to the bedroom. She didn't follow. I stared at the ceiling most of the night. I think I got maybe an hour of sleep. I could hear her and Kyle laughing about something in the kitchen around midnight. Maybe a show. Maybe me. Didn't matter. The next morning, she didn't even ask how I was. Just said, "We're out of eggs." That was it. Over the next few weeks, she got cold. No questions. No worms. Not even a pat on the back. Kyle just got worse. The guy had the nerve to say, "At least now you got no one left to disappoint." I didn't respond. I was scared I'd hit him. I don't hit people. But that day I was close. What broke me was what I overheard. I came home early from a job one day. I walked up to the house quiet because I was carrying a box of supplies. I heard them talking through the kitchen window. Kyle said, "Your husband is a loser. Real talk. All he does is mope around. It's pathetic. No wonder your dad never liked him." Stephanie said, "He wasn't always like this." Kyle laughed again. "You can do better." Seriously. Stephanie didn't argue. Didn't tell him to shut up. She just said, "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." I left. Didn't even go inside. Just sat in my truck for hours. That night, I slept in my truck in the back of a strip mall parking lot. Thought about my dad. Thought about all the things I never said. Thought about how the two people in my house made me feel like trash while I was grieving. Something in me clicked that night. Like a switch flipped. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. But I was going to change things. I wasn't going to live with people who didn't give a damn about me. I decided a plan. First, I met with my lawyer. I'd known her since I built her deck years back. Good woman. Tough. Sharp. I told her everything. She didn't talk much, just wrote everything down. When I finished, she looked up and asked, "You want to do this quick or do it right?" I said right, and I want them to feel it. She nodded and got to work. I moved money from our joint account, money I had earned, and used it to buy a small duplex I found on the east side. Didn't tell Stephanie. I used a P.O. box and a different email account. Had the property put in a trust with only my name. One side I moved into. The other side I renovated and cleaned up. My plan wasn't just to leave. It was to hit back. Then I documented everything. I printed off texts, photos, social media posts, anything that showed Kyle living there for free. I kept receipt from groceries, water bills, power bills, all of it. Even better, my truck dash cam had audio recordings. I had parked it in the driveway one night and left it on. Got a nice recording of Kyle saying, "Why should I work? Steph's loser husband pays for everything." Perfect. 1 month after the night, I asked for that hug. My lawyer sent the letter. Courier dropped it at the door. Stephanie opened it. I wasn't there to see it, but I know what happened because her friend Amy, who always thought Kyle was trash, told me later. Stephanie read the first page. Divorce, emotional cruelty, verbal abuse, detailed examples. She started crying. Next few pages, financial breakdown of Kyle's unpaid living expenses. $10,920. Detailed, organized, with a formal request for repayment. Kyle was standing behind her, reading over her shoulder. When he saw the last page, he apparently turned green and ran to the sink. He puked. That last page was a printed photo. Him at a party 2 weeks earlier, shirtless, drunk, yelling, "I don't gotta pay rent. My sister's loser husband's a cash machine." My lawyer attached it to show character and attitude. I didn't answer their calls. I didn't respond to texts. I was gone. Stephanie begged for a meeting. I refused. It's not over yet. We're still going through the court process. But I've got the documents, the receipts, and the law behind me. She's crying now. Kyle's hiding. And I'm finally sleeping again. I'm not done. And they're not ready for what comes next. After that letter got delivered, things started moving fast. Stephanie sent me a long email the next day. Said she was blindsided and hurting too. Claimed she was just trying to hold things together and didn't realize how cold she had been. Said Kyle didn't mean what he said, that he wasn't himself lately. I didn't respond. She sent another message 2 days later, this time angrier. Said I was being cruel. Said I was ruining everything over a few bad moments. Claimed I was twisting reality to make her look like a villain. Still didn't respond. Instead, I met with my lawyer again. We added new documents. Screenshots of her texts where she admitted Kyle had gotten out of control. That helped show she knew what was going on and chose to do nothing. 2 weeks later, I got served papers back. She lawyered up too. Her lawyer sent an offer. Said she wanted to work toward an amicable split and offered to take only what she was owed. That meant half of everything. That's when I realized how deep this was. She wanted half the house, the one I bought 5 years before I even met her. Paid off in my name only. She also wanted part of my business. Said she supported me emotionally during the years I built it. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just sorry. She was panicking. Kyle wasn't working. She had no job, no savings, and nowhere else to go. If I won the house and forced her out, she'd be stuck. And I planned to do just that. Here's the twist. I already had people watching Kyle. One of my old clients owns a bar near downtown. Told me he'd seen Kyle there a few times trying to flirt with women, bragging about being a silent partner in a contracting business. I nearly laughed. Another buddy of mine saw Kyle applying for jobs using my business card and my license number. When I checked, sure enough, Kyle had been trying to bid on small handyman gigs using my contractor license. That's a felony here. I reported it immediately. I also had a camera installed outside the house I left behind, just in case. Sure enough, within a week of getting the letter, Kyle had a loud meltdown on the porch, punched the siding, screamed about how I ruined his life. Police were called by a neighbor. I submitted the footage to my lawyer. Things were unraveling for them. Then came the biggest twist. One morning, I got a call from a number I didn't know. I picked up, and it was Stephanie's mom. We'd only met a few times at holidays, and she always seemed polite. Not overly friendly, but civil. She said, "Alan, I don't mean to get in the middle, but I need to ask, is it true what you're accusing Kyle of?" I told her, it's not an accusation. It's facts. She sighed. Told me Kyle had been kicked out of 3 jobs before the landscaping one. Told me he had stolen from their dad once. Told me Stephanie had always protected him, even when it hurt her. Then she said something that stuck with me. "I think she knows she lost you. But Kyle, he's about to lose a lot more." She wasn't wrong. A few days later, Kyle got a call from the Ohio Contractor Licensing Board. They wanted to discuss his recent activities. That was just the beginning. My lawyer filed a formal complaint. My friend at the licensing office confirmed Kyle was looking at criminal charges for impersonating a licensed contractor. Fees, maybe even jail if he'd done any work that caused damage. And from what I heard, he messed up a woman's patio so badly that it flooded her basement. Meanwhile, Stephanie tried one last move. She showed up at my new duplex. I didn't tell her the address, so I don't know how she found it. Maybe followed me. She was standing outside when I came home from a job, holding a folder and a coffee. She said, "Please, just talk to me." I didn't say anything. She followed me up the stairs. I didn't let her in. She said, "Kyle's gone. He left this morning. Took the last of his stuff." I said, "Good." She said, "Can we fix this?" I laughed. I don't think I meant to. It just came out. She stepped closer and said, "I made mistakes, but I still love you." I looked her in the eye and said, "You stood there while your brother humiliated me the day my father died. And you laughed with him while I slept alone. That's not love." She stood there crying. Didn't say another word. Just stood on the steps for a while. Then she left. I haven't seen her since. The court date's getting close now. My lawyer thinks we'll win the house easily. I've got the paperwork, the timeline, the recordings. Kyle's legal trouble is getting worse. The woman with the flooded basement is pressing charges. But I'm not done yet. I've got one more move, and it's the one that's going to leave them both flat on their backs. A week before the court date, I got a message that stopped me cold. It was from an old friend I hadn't heard from in years. Brian. We worked together back when I was doing subcontracting under a bigger firm. Solid guy. Always kept to himself. He sent a short text. "Hey, I think you should know. I saw your ex-brother-in-law trying to get a job using your business name. Again, I overheard him lying about being your partner." I was stunned. Again? I thought Kyle was done pulling that crap. I called Brian right away. He told me Kyle had shown up at a job fair in Westerville, passing out these cheap homemade business cards. They said, "Alan and Kyle Contracting Services," with my phone number crossed out and his written in. I nearly crushed my phone in my hand. Brian said Kyle gave a long pitch to some HVAC guy about being silent co-owner of a renovation company and bragged about doing commercial bathrooms. Brian said he didn't let it go. He pulled Kyle aside and told him he knew me and knew he was full of it. Kyle apparently cursed him out and left. But Brian grabbed one of the fake cards before he disappeared. I thanked him and asked him to send me a photo. When I saw it, I forwarded it straight to my lawyer in the Ohio State Licensing Board. She filed a follow-up complaint. That alone would probably get Kyle blacklisted from ever holding a license. But I wasn't done. Remember that woman whose patio he destroyed? Her name's Rochelle. Turns out she's a paralegal at a firm my lawyer knows well. When she found out Kyle was using someone else's license and didn't carry insurance, she went off. I got in touch with her myself. We talked on the phone for nearly an hour. She was pissed. Said water damage from his shoddy work cost her thousands. He had lied to her face, saying he had years of experience. I told her I'd testify for her if it helped. She said she'd do the same for me. That was when I got an idea. I started digging through everything I still had. Old group messages, random emails, even pictures Stephanie sent me back when we were still good. In one of them, a photo from Thanksgiving 2 years ago, Kyle was holding a beer in one hand and flipping off the camera with the other. In the background, my work tablet. I zoomed in. He was looking through my contractor dashboard. I had always suspected he snooped through my stuff, but now I had proof. He used my login, possibly even saved my license number from there. This was gold. Sent it to the lawyer. She laughed when she saw it. Said, "Now we can say he had premeditated access." Meanwhile, Stephanie was unraveling. Amy, her only real friend who hadn't dropped her, texted me again. She didn't betray Steph, but she gave me a heads up. Apparently, Steph's family had stopped speaking to her. Her mom had told her, "You stood by while your husband was humiliated, and then you cried when he finally stood up." Kyle was couch surfing now. Word got around about the fake license and the court case. He was blacklisted from several job networks. And he still owed me the 11 grand. He hadn't paid a dime. One of the most satisfying texts I ever got was from a guy who used to bully me back in high school, but ended up working with Kyle for a bit. He wrote, "Yo, didn't know the Kyle guy was your ex-brother-in-law. Dude's a total clown. I watched him get kicked off a job site last week." I didn't respond, just smiled. 2 nights before court, Stephanie tried again. She sent me a voice message. She was crying. Not fake tears, either. Real sobs. Said, "I don't even know who I am anymore. You were the only person who ever made me feel safe. I let my brother poison that. I let him poison me." Then she said something I didn't expect. He told me he thought you were weak, and I let myself believe that. I thought your quiet meant you were soft, but I was wrong. You're strong in a way he'll never be. I'm sorry, Alan. I'm so sorry. I listened to the message once. Then I deleted it. The day before court, my lawyer and I had one final prep call. She said, I think she's going to try to settle. She knows she can't win this. I told her I didn't want to settle. I wanted it on record. I wanted it in writing, public and official, that I was the one who built my life, that I kept records, that I showed respect, that I didn't lose control or lash out. I wanted the truth laid out in court, and that truth was coming. The morning of court came. I wore a black suit, my father's tie, the same one he wore at my wedding. The last time he saw me truly happy. I sat at the front of the courtroom with my lawyer. Calm, focused. Stephanie sat on the other side with hers. She wouldn't look at me. Her hands shook when she tried to pour water. Kyle wasn't in the room. At least, not yet. The judge walked in, older guy with tired eyes. He looked like he'd seen it all. The bailiff read the case. Divorce, financial division, personal damages. My lawyer stood up and began with our opening. She was sharp. She laid it all out. The date of my father's death, the neglect I faced, the financial freeloading, and the emotional cruelty. She handed over every piece of evidence, receipts, messages, photos, recordings. Even showed the zoomed-in photo of Kyle with my work tablet from 2 years ago. The judge took notes, nodded slowly. Then came the witness. Rochelle, the woman Kyle scammed, testified. She told the court how he lied about being licensed. She brought pictures of her flooded basement and a $7,800 invoice for water damage cleanup. She said he ignored her messages after it happened. Then came Brian. He testified about Kyle's fake business cards and how he claimed to be my partner. By the time they were done, Kyle still hadn't shown up. So the judge called a 15-minute break. That's when it happened. Just as we were about to return to the room, the doors opened, and in came Kyle. He looked wrecked. Hair greasy, shirt wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. He wasn't wearing a suit, not even a clean shirt, just a hoodie and jeans. The judge looked at him and said, Mr. Porter, you're late. Kyle mumbled something about car trouble. The judge didn't even respond. Just waved him to sit down. Stephanie whispered something to Kyle. He shook his head and looked at the floor. I didn't care what they said. I'd already won, but I was about to finish it. My lawyer stood and said we were ready to proceed with the financial breakdown. She listed all the unpaid rent and utilities Kyle owed, laid out the total, $10,920. Then she mentioned the damages he caused to my reputation and potential jobs lost due to impersonation. She quoted $14,000 in lost income opportunities based on canceled gigs and emails we'd gathered. Then came the kicker. She pulled out a small stack of papers and handed them to the clerk. The judge looked through them. My lawyer said, these are formal statements from 3 Ohio business owners stating that Mr. Kyle Porter represented himself as a partner in my client's company. 2 of them were recorded. 1 was in writing. The judge looked at Kyle. Mr. Porter, do you have any response to these accusations? Kyle stuttered. I didn't say I was his partner. I just helped him sometimes. Were you licensed? No. Did you perform any paid labor under his business name? Kyle hesitated. Maybe once, that's all it took. The judge called both lawyers to the bench. They spoke for a few minutes. Then he sat back down and looked at all of us. This isn't just a divorce case. This is about credibility, abuse of trust, and potential criminal activity. I will be forwarding parts of this case to the appropriate authorities regarding Mr. Porter's impersonation of a licensed contractor. He paused. As for the divorce, the court finds Mr. Alan Peters to be the sole legal owner of the house and business. The prenup agreement stands. Mrs. Stephanie Peters is entitled to none of the business, and due to lack of contribution, is entitled to no share of the home. Stephanie gasped. Actually gasped. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm like she saw it coming. The judge continued. In terms of damages, Mr. Porter is ordered to repay $10,920 in back expenses within 60 days or face garnished wages and additional court fees. Furthermore, he is banned from any work in licensed contracting in the state of Ohio for a minimum of 5 years. Kyle said nothing. The judge turned to me. Mr. Peters, you are free to pursue civil claims beyond this court if you wish. I stood and said, I will. He nodded. That was it. After the hearing, Cal stormed out. No apology. No eye contact. Stephanie stayed seated, crying, shoulders shaking. I looked at her one last time. She mouthed, I'm sorry. I didn't respond. 2 months later, Cal was arrested. Turns out the woman with the flooded basement pressed charges. And when the licensing board finished their investigation, they discovered 2 other homeowners who had been scammed. He pled guilty, got probation and community service, but his name went public. Every job board, every licensing forum, every home repair site in Ohio knew who he was. He tried to move to Indiana. Last I heard, he was sleeping in a friend's van. Stephanie moved in with her mom. Tried getting a job at a real estate office, but couldn't pass the background check due to pending wage garnishments. She sent me one last letter. Said she wakes up at night hearing the words I said in court. You stood there while your brother humiliated me the day my father died. She said she repeats it to herself like a punishment. I never wrote back. As for me, I kept the house, rented out the duplex to a single mom and her 2 kids. Good people. Business is doing better than ever. Clients stuck with me, said they respected how I handled it all. I still wear my dad's tie when I meet new clients. He raised me to keep receipts, to stay calm, to speak only when it matters. He also taught me how to fix things. But some things aren't worth fixing. Some things need to be torn down brick by brick and left behind.